Experts from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea have investigated reports about the development of nuclear weapons in Japan and have come to striking conclusions. North Korean researchers, citing the Iranian news agency IRNA, claim that nuclear weapons have long been being developed at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. This kind of suspicion is nothing new. What is news is that a secret tunnel was discovered beneath the nuclear power plant, where covert military operations were being carried out. When a state of emergency was declared in the wake of the catastrophic earthquake and tsunami, the Japanese authorities refused to allow an international team of experts to visit the nuclear power plant prepared to assist in overcoming the consequences of the disaster and preventing new possible hotbeds of radioactive contamination. This alarmed the international community. Are the Japanese hiding their military nuclear developments from prying eyes? And are they willing to do so even in a state of emergency when every hour of work of qualified cleanup crews is precious? Many foreign media outlets cited the words of the former editor-in-chief of Japan's most influential newspaper, the Japan Times. He claimed that Tokyo is hiding military nuclear research at nuclear power plants. Traces of these activities, which may have come to the attention of foreign journalists and experts after the disaster, are being feverishly eliminated. Such publicity would compromise the policies declared by many successive governments of the land of the rising sun. The three non-nuclear principles prohibit Japan from possessing, producing, or importing nuclear weapons into its territory. However, the ruling circles are trying their best to circumvent Article 9 of the country's constitution. Formally, Japan does not possess nuclear weapons. However, facts that cannot be concealed given the modern level of space and geophysical monitoring say the opposite. The Chinese media put forward their own version of the March 2011 disaster at Fukushima. Citing anonymous sources, it is claimed that the earthquake was caused by a failed nuclear test. The accident at Fukushima 1 was staged to conceal the true causes of radiation spread. Tokyo Governor Shintaro Ishihara's hint about the possibility of using nuclear weapons against China also supports this theory. Shortly after these words, an underground shock with a magnitude 7.4 was registered near the northeast coast of the main island of Honshu in the Pacific Ocean. News agencies also reported pictures taken from outer space of a huge vortex capable of pulling even powerful ships into the abyss. This vortex was formed in the ocean after the earthquake, but no one could explain its reasons. The failure of the power supply system at Fukushima Daiichi also looks suspicious. The only reasonable explanation is that the Japanese deliberately allowed radiation leaks in order to draw attention away from the failed test on March 9, 2011. The crew of the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, which was on a joint sea exercise with South Korea and was in the ocean at least 50 miles east of the stricken nuclear power plant, received a monthly dose of radiation, while the people on land were evacuated to a radius of only 20 kilometers from the source of danger. Everything falls into place if we assume that the focus of the main nuclear radiation was located in the sea to the far east of Fukushima 1. Finally, all experts are alarmed by the fact that Japan still fails to report what is really happening at the nuclear power plant. Neither the Japanese public nor representatives of international organizations such as the IAEA and the World Nuclear Association are aware of the situation. On September 9, the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries provided very interesting data for 2015. They show that in 17 Japanese prefectures, 0.1% of staple foods were found to contain radioactive elements. In 2013, 2 years after the nuclear accident, a routine survey conducted in Fukushima Prefecture stated that the effects were still very noticeable. Fishermen from the town of Iwaki are not fishing to this day, as radiation leaks into the ocean, authorities say, continue. Considering that all protective measures have been taken at the plant, which is an indisputable fact, it can be assumed that the source of radiation is in the ocean after all. Note the Japanese authorities' statements in January that the country does not intend to support a resolution at the UN General Assembly to begin negotiations on a global ban on nuclear weapons in 2017. Given all this, it is safe to assume that Tokyo has nuclear weapons, although it hides them from the world community with all its might. Recall that Japan is a country with the most advanced dual-use nuclear technology. At the Tokai plant, the Japanese have set up a Recycle Equipment Test Facility, RTF, from 2 light water reactors, Manju and C, which use ordinary water for neutron slowdown and/or as a coolant. Experts estimate that the plutonium produced at the RETF is cleaner than weapons-grade plutonium. It contains more than 96% Pu-239. According to various estimates, the radioactive metal accumulated over 10 years will be enough to create 70 nuclear charges of various capacities. It is likely that Japan now has the largest stocks of plutonium. Experts from the U.S. Department of Energy are confident that it can be used to make nuclear weapons, so its civilian use is risky. Recently, Ichiro Osawa, leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, said that the country could produce thousands of nuclear warheads. And former Cabinet Secretary General Yasuo Fukuda continued, "Prohibitions in the Constitution do not mean that Japan cannot have nuclear weapons." He asserted that more than 50 reactors are dual-use facilities. They now work for the country's civilian needs, but if necessary, Tokyo can easily convert them to military use. As of 2016, Japan had about 100 tons of plutonium. And no one is stopping its production. One last thing. Plutonium, a heavy isotope, was found outside the walls of the plant, which could not get outside without a strong explosion inside the reactor. The radioactive contamination of the area with iodine and cesium corresponds to the contamination after the explosion of an old-type nuclear bomb. But the plant also accumulated plutonium, which could be recycled for use in modern nuclear weapons. Its source was one of the reactors using MOX fuel. Japan has long had the technology to build an atomic bomb. Japan has 64 nuclear reactors, Russia has 31. And leading political analysts believe that Japan will not miss such an opportunity. Chinese analysts prove that they already have. And judging by the facts cited, this is true. Japan's non-nuclear status is a fiction. A country that supposedly adheres to the 3 non-nuclear principles is deceiving the world community and even the United States, whose lethal arsenals have been concentrated on the islands of the Ryukyu archipelago for most of the post-war years. It is true that this topic is practically off-limits. It is not discussed in the media in any way. Except in personal blogs, in one of which the author, for example, states the following: "The earthquake in Japan was caused by a clandestine underground nuclear test the Japanese failed, and the accident at Fukushima 1 was staged to conceal the true causes of the spread of radiation caused by a nuclear explosion at a remote test site deep beneath the ocean floor." Subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Give it a thumbs up. Tell us interesting facts you know about the topic of this video. See you in new videos.